Welcome back to How Rude, Tanneritos. Today, one of Full House's most iconic guest stars is joining us. We have Whit Hertford, aka Duckface, with us on the podcast. Duckface's signature look arguably started a movement that still floods our Instagram feeds to this day.
It's true. It all started here.
It's a legendary look. We can't wait to talk to Whit about his time on Full House and the other incredible projects he was a part of. Please put your hands together for Whit.
Hi.
I'm so old that I'm literally doing this off like the desktop screen top and the other, like I'm 80.
Oh, yeah. No, you're in the right place. We are, we really discuss every time on this show how old we feel because technology is not our strong suit. And
I try not to let that cat out of the bag. Like I really try to fake it. I'm like, no, I'm super good at it. But
right.
I'm really, really, really good at it. Because I don't want anybody to go like, I think he's lying.
Well, we're also trained as actors, you know, to put it on your special skills. Yes, fire juggling, totally. Done it.
Just make it work.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So we're like, yeah, technology.
What?
I'm great. I'm in. What's happening? Yeah.
We just watched your episode. Last night. The first one where you're introduced. And oh my gosh.
Yep.
You are just a vision. You are a vision in your color blocking, that outfit.
Oh, the sweater. Yeah. We make fun of ourselves a lot on these shows.
It's giving Willy Wonka a little bit.
It's really good wardrobe, isn't it?
It's great. The glasses.
The corduroy pants.
Yes.
I mean, I could hear him. Hear him from here.
Yeah, no, it was good.
And did they have it looked like they had a patch on them. Did they have a patch on them or were they like cargo corduroy?
I don't know. I'd have to look at a photo.
I know, because there was like on the side of them, I was like, oh, is that a patch? And I was like, is that like, are we trying to show that maybe Walter...
He gets his hands dirty in the garage?
Like maybe doesn't have, or that maybe he doesn't have a lot of money. And so like, that's part of it. You know what I mean? Like maybe his pants are...
But he's a poorly lad.
Right. Like I didn't know that, or if it was
backstory?
just a fashion choice or just something on my screen. I don't know. It could have been any of those things.
I don't know what his background story is at all. I really would have loved if we met mom and dad Duckface.
Mr. and Mrs. Duckface.
Yes. The senior Duckface.
And why are his lips stuck in that position? I want to know that. Like
who knows?
That one little
maybe
character
he's
trait has
always
followed
kind
you
of
around.
like, like sort of.
My classical training later in life, I would have asked all of these questions, but at 10, I was just sort of like, I'm on TV.
Right? Yes, same.
That's all of us,
same.
Right? You're like,
I
don't
it's
know.
cool.
I didn't
Whatever.
a choice. I just did the thing.
Like, this is fun. Now, when's lunch?
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go back because we want to talk to you obviously about like your first appearance as Duckface, but I mean you and your siblings have been actors and in the business for quite a long time. How old were you when you started acting?
The first thing I ever did was at 4. We had moved here. My dad got a job at Pepperdine teaching. He was a theater director. And I auditioned like crazy and did all the normal stuff, did the headshots. And I think I had business cards with like an ice cream cone that was falling, like really, really cringe. But it was a Care Bear shoe commercial. It was, remember those, this is how old we are too, by the way, guys. Remember those shoe stores called Buster Brown?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it was like a co-pro with Buster Brown and Care Bears. And I was in a commercial with that. So I had to like imagine Care Bears. And that was my first thing. And I remembered it. Yeah. You know, I think it was good that it was my first thing because it was fun and it was a little weird.
So was this your choice to begin? Like at 4, I don't know how much choice you have to be like, I'm going to be an actor.
Oh, no, totally.
So was this your parents pushing you or this was all you?
Yeah, no, I was precocious as hell. And like because my parents were actors, it just felt like, well, this is what we do. This is in our DNA. Thankfully, like in a big sweeping sort of overview, you know, my parents, especially my mom, because she kind of raised us as a single parent for a majority of my life, kept us in public school. We didn't live in the city. And that was crucial. We lived in Agora before it was like bougie and Erewhon, when it was like tumbleweeds. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that was cool because it was the beach and it was horses and it was public school. And I think without that, I would have been in a lot of trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all three of us kind of had that experience. We did like regular school, and all three of us lived
You were
outside
outside,
of
right,
LA
right, right,
and
right.
kind of
we were the Orange
in Orange
County
County.
crew.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you were the other side of the town, but yeah, I do think that helped a ton
Yeah.
because it wasn't like quote unquote real life was something that we had zero connection to,
Right,
or
right.
that you know what I mean. It wasn't like we were in this bubble of just only being in entertainment. It was like, oh no, we knew what like regular school people did,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
and I think that was key.
Yeah, it keeps you It keeps you grounded, and it
Oh.
gives you perspective too. Of like, hey, you're not going to be fawned over all the time, or told you're wonderful
Right.
every single day, or people don't
Certainly
clap
not
for
at
you
public
wherever you
school.
go.
Yeah.
Totally.
So let's get to Duckface, because I know that is what people are dying to hear about. Let's get to Duckface.
Let's get to Duckface. That's actually the spinoff. Let's get to Duckface.
Let's get to Duckface. I think that's the newest one, and we find that really Duckface has been behind all manner of things in the Tanner Fuller
That would be amazing.
future. I feel like he's definitely their accountant for sure.
Yeah.
He is
Easily,
Yeah.
he's their CPA.
Yeah, I feel like Duckface is helping that family figure out how they pay for that house while no one really appears to be working that much. So good on you.
For sure. You're welcome.
That's
Good
the
on
backstory.
you,
Here we
sir.
go. Here we go. Now we're really getting
Oh,
into
you
the,
know me.
into the weeds.
I'll just start off in a direction of fanfic, and we'll have a show in 7 minutes. But do you remember what the casting process was like for that episode, for that character?
Simultaneously, vaguely and vividly. I remember going to the lot, and I remember that it might have been pretty quick from the initial to the callback. I don't want to say same day, but there were a lot of times that there was same day stuff. And my poor mom had to take her Thomas Brother guide and her pager and figure out where payphones were. And I don't know how that woman did that.
We have talked many times about the Thomas Guide and about how as kids I could navigate you cross country using a Thomas Guide by the age of 6.
My mom was like, "Hey, dude, you're not getting your learner's permit unless you know this thing front to back." And I was like, "Brutal." Okay.
Oh, it's literally at 5 years old. My mom was like, "Okay, J4, look up J4." Okay,
No.
we did, and it was like reading it,
great.
and I remember. Knowing the best routes across town and which ones, like, okay, we can't take the 10, but we can take, Wilshire all the way down, or something, like just things like that as a kid navigating auditions, you definitely learn. But yeah, I'm sure it was a pretty quick thing.
So I remember being on the lot, and then I remember they were like, "Okay, we're gonna take you to the soundstage." I don't even think I'd been on a soundstage yet. I'd literally just done commercials and maybe some theater stuff. And I knew the show. It was gigantic. And they were like, "We're going to do wardrobe fitting right now." I was like, "What?" And I met you. And they I don't know if you remember that, but I do remember they had us have our first little meet cute. And it was like,
right.
It was big, Jones. It was big. It was real big, man. And I mean,
really?
Yeah.
Do you remember this, Jody? You have to say yes, because it was big.
Yeah, I remember.
No. You don't have to remember
I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but that's amazing.
And I was like, let's go. I can act with this chick. Let's go. And
I do remember you and I had a lot of fun together. Like, you were a few years older than me, so there was a little bit of an age difference, but it never felt like that at all.
I have two younger sisters, and the one closest to me was, my first best friend in life. And so for forever, it was just me and her, and we're very different. She's, I explained Chelsea as like if Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Amy Poehler had a baby. She is like a little 4'11" tyrant, but very, very funny, the funniest of us all. And she's very stoic and very pragmatic, and I'm a lunatic. So we're very different, but we were friends quick on. And I think that's probably why you and I, we had a good rapport immediately.
So what was it like being that first day? Like, was it, I guess too, like we didn't the whole reason we're doing this podcast, because we didn't really watch the show.
Right.
So the whole idea that
wow.
this show was like, we knew we got recognized and we knew it was doing well, but as little kids, you're kind of, you're just like, I don't know, this is the thing I do. And I go and, so whenever guest stars would come or people and they were like, this is huge. For us, I still think of it as like, really?
That's fun.
Just our little show, like with our little people, because it was so normal and so
It was your life.
not a huge thing. Yeah.
I remember, well, you can hear in the taping, I haven't watched it for a long, long time. I watch it every Sunday night. My episode.
Right. Just to keep it fresh in case you're asked to reprise the role.
Well, I give myself notes. I'm like, guy,
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, 30 some odd years of notes. I feel like at this point, you've really dissected it.
Didn't nail it. I didn't nail it, and I'm pretty upset about it.
Yeah. Well, it's because you didn't have a backstory. You didn't know. You didn't
Truly.
know. Was it a patch on his pants or not? That.
But no, you can hear the intro when I first arrived. There's like gasps and like there's audible things and like very secluded laughter from, you can tell, young boys, and those are all of my friends.
Oh.
They all came it was like my scout troop. They all came. And you can hear their ice. I can like say, "Oh, that's Ryan," or "That's yeah."
Oh, I'm
So
gonna have to go
funny.
back and hear that now because
It's
that's
cute. It's really, really cute. They were very, it was. I mean, I've always been a runt. I've always been the shortest dude in my class. I'm the shortest dude in my existence as a 45-year-old, but school was like a mixed bag, and most of the time the friends were super supportive until there'd be 5 or 6 yokels that would get threatened, but when that gig happened, it was huge. I mean, and that was like kind of a period, I would say, like this when I peaked, of like 10 to like 15, and then I went and I did a lot of different stuff. So Full House was definitely the one that was like, all right, Stratosphere, let's go.
Was it like when you read the part of Duckface, were you like, oh, because I know like as a child actor, when we talked about it before too, like there's things that you have to do where you're like, it's fun in the moment and you're like, yeah, I'm an actor and I'm having fun and being silly. But then like you have this thought as a kid where you're like, oh, I'm going to pay for this when everyone sees it. Like everyone's going to make fun of me. Did you not have any of that fear? And if not, how did you do it? And how can I do it now? No.
I mean, I've just always been a freak. So I think I took my jobs weirdly serious at 10. And so I knew that was a character, and it was such a good, weird, specific character that I was like, I get to do a physical thing. I get to wear glasses. I get to be kind of like, the pathetic part of it. That I thought it was juicy, and I was happy about that. I would pay for it later, and I got routinely cast as like nerd boy for a minute.
Oh.
But again, I'm still that guy where like I've never, I went to college for undergrad, classical acting, and then I've had a couple other lives, 7 of my 9 cat lives already, and I've never been the guy that's like, oh, I want to win best actor. I'm like, no, supporting actor.
Right.
Like I want to know what like the sidekick.
Right.
The sidekick is where it's at.
Yeah, that's how you always get to have the
relate
most
to
fun with the not the main character, but the one that's a little quirky and offbeat.
Totally.
Well, love it.
And I also look in the mirror every day, and so I know what my face looks like, so it makes sense.
But you know what though? I always think that there is something to be said for being a consistently working character or theater actor where you're like, I just get to do what I love in all different kinds of variations, and I don't have to be perfect for it. I don't have I feel like that sometimes can, when that's the goal is to like be this thing, it's, you lose some of the fun and the playfulness and the outrageousness of acting and playing and doing all that. And I think, as kids, we got to do it all the time.
I had a mentor in college that she was great. She was from Britain, and I remember she cast me in this one role that was like the leading man. And I looked at her and I was like, what are you doing? And she was like, I think you need to work on, well, and I'll get emotional about it because it's kind of stayed with me forever, that you're enough
Oh.
and that you have the strength. And I think you're handsome and I think that you're charming and I think you're all the qualities of a leading man. You don't know that yet. And you need to, I mean, good
Wow.
God, what a lesson.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Oh, I just got
you
chills.
know,
And
a good teacher and a good acting class is really just on your feet therapy, working through various things.
Her name is Sarah Schiffelbotham, and she's not dead; she's still alive. But yeah, she was incremental, and yeah. So I'll name drop her. Whatever.
Yeah.
So what was
absolutely.
that like being the leading man for the first time? Did you end up believing in yourself that you're enough?
I started falling into this thing because then during my second tour of duty here in LA, I started a film company like in my 20s because I was auditioning for a lot of physical gags, right? So I was doing improv in my 20s. I was at UCB when it first started, did that for 7 years, ran the gamut. Because I was like, when you're 5'1", you should at least be funny. Let's figure it out. So did all that. And we started this little tiny independent film company. And I remember telling the guy that ended up directing all of it, was doing a lot of the camera operating, I said, I want to do the non-traditional leading man, Ben Stiller, or not, as savvy to say these days, Woody Allen. But I kind of got addicted to the idea of making that work. And the first short film we did is just like a little rom-com. It's me and a 5'10" blonde actress that I met in improv class. Her name is Nora Kirkpatrick, and she used to play in Edward Sharpe, and she's a film director now. And that was just on this, theme of sort of me figuring that out. I remember we went to a couple of festivals and these old ladies in the audiences, they were like, I forgot how short you were within 5 minutes because the chemistry was so good. And I was like, okay, cool.
What an amazing, what a testament to like reminding people that the outer stuff, the outer package is not the most interesting part of anything, It's not the most interesting part to watch on screen. It's not the most interesting part to, watch in real life. Like it's the underneath stuff that makes someone attractive or interesting.
Yeah. And because I'm like semi-retired from acting, I get pulled out once in a while, but I might have like a resurgence in my brain and in my soul here because I've kind of felt like the older, grayer, balder I get, the more interesting I am. Like,
you know what it is? It's the less you give. Too.
Yes.
I am in my 40s now and they're flying off daily.
The best.
And it's so great. But I think that makes for like it's sort of a creative resurgence because all of a sudden you're like, wait, all the stuff that I kind of didn't try or think I could or what, I want to do it now. Like, what do I have to lose? Who cares? It's sort of like the good side of a not a midlife crisis, but a midlife questioning, a midlife digging deeper of what's next?
45-year-old Whit is the best version. If you're buying action figures, that's the one to get. And like, it took a bit. I mean, not to be like overly whatever, but my peaks and valleys, I really have lived 7 of my 9 cat lives, but I'm not tired. And I feel like it's kind of the killer second half of my book that I'm excited about because, and this is going to sound really hippy dippy and preachy.
No, I love it. Go hippy dippy.
I lived a part of my life, and even though it was healthy, I lived a large part of my life, not only growing up in the industry, as you guys know, but I also grew up very, very religious. And although we didn't really wear it on our sleeves, it was a part of my like everyday week. And my friends were a part of it, all that stuff. And so when I came to that sort of crossroads, late in life, like in my 20s, where I was like, is this for me? I just learned a lot about myself. And so I think that most people, or at least a fair amount of people, don't get the opportunity to push pause on their life and really separate and do, it's kind of a cliche term, but to do their work and to really figure out who you are internally so the second half of your life can be for you rather than the expectation of other people.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Oh, yeah. As I think the three of us here have all done a lot of that work.
Yeah.
Yay,
It's the best.
therapy.
It's the best.
Yay, therapy. We're always on the show like therapy is, yes, talk to people. Do the work.
I started painting in my 40s.
Yes.
I have no training. My sister's the painter. She has 2 visual arts degrees. I was doing a play. I was playing Oedipus in this really effed up thing I wrote with Antigone and Oedipus.
Ooh,
And it was sort of, I affectionately called it Lars von Sophocles because it looked like a Lars von Trier.
right.
And I was like, for this like research, I want to like fiddle around with painting. I've literally never taken that seriously. So I asked my sister, I was like, what do I get? Where do I get them? Do I go to Michael's? Do I go to Blick? What do I do? And she was giving me some pointers. She's like, go have fun. And I started banging it out. And because, full circle, I got 0 to give, I can approach this art form, which normally you're going to get stuck and tricky if you overthink it. Right. And if you judge it, I don't care. So I just threw it down. I showed her a picture of this guy. And she didn't talk to me for 3 weeks because she was like, I'm so pissed that you're just like good at it.
You know?
And then I started selling and stuff. And I was like, look, also we can't be the Tenenbaums and we can't have like sibling rivalry in our 40s. Right. You're always going to be better than me, but I have to do this for my soul. Yeah. So like, yeah. This is the reason I bring it up is not to self-promote, but like this is an example of me not caring.
Yeah,
not caring.
I have a dear friend of mine, Jen Pasteloff, who is an incredible author and wrote a book, a memoir called On Being Human, which I highly recommend if you're looking to do it. But she's a dear friend of mine, and she did the same thing. She was going through a divorce, and all of a sudden it's like she just has all of this energy. She's more probably ADD than I am, but I love her, and she just started painting, and like she's really great. And it's that reminder that like just try new things, try new ways of expressing yourself, particularly at this time in your life when you're like, oh wait, I actually care a lot less about what people think. Go find ways to be artistically creative and let that part of your soul out, because I think we spend like the first half of our lives really trying to fit in the box that everyone else builds for us, and then we spend the second half taking that box apart and building our own, you know. Well,
totally. And that's the thing, like, not to get into the weeds about it, but like with a giant backpack of religious trauma, I really had to figure out, you know, oh my gosh, some of these little tic tac things were literally things I was just saluting to. These decisions were not my decisions at all, and they formed a lot of stuff. So there has been a lot of untethering, and they call it with faith crisis is deprogramming. And it's been really interesting. You know, it's not right for everybody. I don't want to like talk about that and then be a hypocrite by preaching about not doing that.
No, I think like with anything that, you know, feminism, all of it, the thing is that you have the choice. If this is something of a journey that you want to take and something that isn't working for you, then go take that journey. If the faith is working for you and you feel cool with it, then that works for you. You know, it's all about choice. But I love that like this is the journey that you've been on. And I think so many of our listeners will really connect with that, and also the idea of like knowing you as sort of this, you know, Walter Duckface character, and then like you had to deal with some of those real life things in your own life and come through it, just like Walter would have probably had we followed along on his story and figured out who he was at 45, you know. So like
I'm not lying when I'm telling you that was it college or was it high school? I think it was like early college. I went on 2 separate dates. I remember this vividly. And and they both said, you know, at moments when it's like, oh, okay, maybe this is when we kiss. And they said, am I your secret girlfriend?
Oh no.
Right?
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ben. Yeah.
That's painful.
And I was like, shop's closed. Wow. That was real weird.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
That's a deal breaker, you know? Like I
was like, that's a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
No.
You know, it's amazing how many people out there think that and I guess, you know,
I think their intention was
I think
pure,
the
but it
intention
was
is pure.
like,
I guess
it
it's
was
always
weird.
the thing that I say to people where I go, people are like, yeah, but you're famous. Like, isn't that cool? And I always say that, like, I think the idea of being known and famous
Yeah.
is really great. But when you try that on, there are definitely certain parts of it that irritate. You know what I mean? That are great. Certain
Yeah.
parts of it look amazing and fabulous, and it's all, you feel great. But then certain parts of it are just constantly irritating and itchy as you wear that idea of.
There was a long time when I really, really tried desperately to separate myself from being a kid actor.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I was still acting, even though I still loved theaters, I mean, I was entrenched in it and discovering it, like having a love affair with it for the first time all over again. But I tried really hard to kind of separate myself. And then the pandemic happened, and I think you guys know this world too now. I'd never done any conventions, and because I have some horror stuff and some animation stuff and nostalgia stuff, like I could go and kind of reach a bunch of different boxes, but I'd never done it because I was maybe pretentious, maybe just like shy about it. I
There
don't
is a
know.
certain element of being like, oh, I don't know, do it. Like, does this feel weird? Does it feel, And now I actually love doing them because the
I
fans,
love it.
like,
I do them now all the time, and they're so sweet. I'm going to London in 2
it's
weeks.
such a
and I'm
joy
like,
to be able to go and have people respond so positively. And I think also that is something that comes with age. I will say the understanding and appreciation of just what these characters mean to people, I think doesn't hit you until you're of that age where you go, oh yeah, like my childhood memories are like that too, and it once you have enough distance from it, you're like, okay, that's not all I am, but I'm okay with leaning into that part.
Well, and here's a really cool thing that I've been sort of obsessed with lately, this thought, is that, yes, it's great to not live your life in sort of a narcissistic, self-serving way, but also to be of service, right? So like I'm in a play right now that I wrote that we're going to do here in September here in LA. That's a big bucket list thing for me. And I wanted to act in it. And I've directed 18 of my theater company's shows previously, all of them. And it's a Chekhov play. I'm obsessed with Chekhov. I could do 4 hours.
What play is it? I love Chekhov.
It's Vanya.
Oh.
So I'm playing Vanya because you have to come.
I was just going to say, I
Yeah.
want to come. Okay.
Because here's the other thing. I love Chekhov, and not to like throw shade or seem like I'm a bitter dude. I'm just really punk rock this way. Like there's been a couple Vanias this year that seemed quite precious and quite American. And what I wanted was to get to like the teeth and the backbone. Anyway, point of this whole story, outside of clearly plugging, is that
as you should, we would ask you, do you have stuff to plug?
I mean, whatever.
And I will be there.
Yeah,
this is
I'll
it.
be there.
And my company's called Riot Act, and we're on Instagram or whatever. But the point of it was that like I didn't want to do double duty and direct and acting. I didn't want to do that. So I wrote the adaptation, and then I met this dude. He's a kid. He's 23. He took this sort of weirdo acting workshop I taught last year, and he's a CalArts grad, and he's a genius. And I thought, you know what? Here's where people at our age up. They don't look towards the past from the people that inspired them, and they certainly don't look at like the younger generation and going like, you have something to say that I really need to hear. They're finished products, they're baked in, and that is totally where you get in trouble.
Well, as we get older, we get more set in our ways, and that's like the worst possible thing for creativity and just humans, really. Like, always be learning and changing and doing this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited because I've just kind of said, hey, man, here's my brand. Here's my baby that I established in London that, like, I don't have kids. So my plays are my kids. And I said, I'm gonna let you take them for the weekend. And I want you to, like, take this play and do it your way. Don't try to impress me. And I'm just going to be of service to you, to send the elevator back down, to give it to people and to say, here's the stuff I've learned, take it or leave it. that's kind of what I live for these days. I live for being like some strange stage guru pirate. That's what I want to be.
I am totally here for your strange sage guru pirate era. I think it's excellent. I think we all need a sage guru pirate in our corner, who will tell us the truth. And I love hearing about all of your 9 lives. And this wraps up part 1 of our interview with the beloved Whit Hertford, known to our dear fanaritos as Duckface. Although I hate that he still has that moniker, but it's
going to follow him everywhere.
I know. It's what it is. But Whit has shared so many incredible memories with us already, but there's still so much more to dive into. So make sure to join us this Friday for part 2 with Whit. And we're so glad you joined us for another episode of How Rude Tanneritos. If you're looking for more fun, make sure and follow us on Instagram so you can see all of our behind-the-scenes photos, some of the photos of stuff we talk about on the podcast, and that's at How Rude Podcast. You can also email us at howrudepodcast@gmail.com, and make sure you're liking and subscribing to the podcast wherever you're listening so that you can make sure and get all the newest episodes as soon as they come out. So, you guys, here's to another fabulous episode of How Rude Tanneritos. Now, I feel like we changed the outro.
We did. Did you write it down?
Oh, crap.
And we don't have a bracelet. We don't have a cheat sheet.
You see, this is, I'm out here. I'm flying blind.
It's
I remember what it was. It was, the world is full, but the door's always open. No, the world is small, but the door's always open.
I think that was it.
I think that might be it.
That sounds right.
Okay, well, we'll go with that this week
Let's
until,
go with that.
I get a bracelet or write it down.